Yeah, it's back up now. Weird. Weird. Wonder if it was having a problem with some other process on my computer. Oh well, I'm not really entirely sure why I put the stream back up. Probably not going to be up much longer. But.
Oh, did you see the picture I sent, man?
Shit. I forgot.
Of course, now I forget what I was saying.
You were talking about how basically the balance between using it, not using it, and then how they
Oh yeah. They took the stances away and made it to where it's as long as you have your tank stance on, there's no way anybody else is going to catch up on your aggro. And the DPS doesn't. They removed. That was the other thing. If you were in defensive stance, you actually had a penalty to your damage, so you weren't doing as much DPS. But you were taking less damage. But if you were in DPS stance, of course you were doing your full damage, but you were taking more damage. So it was this really neat dynamic, I thought. I really enjoyed, personally, doing it that way. I always thought it was more interesting to have that dichotomy where you had to switch back and forth, but the very fact that you had to switch back and forth, and some people either just didn't know to do so or wouldn't, because they were just Madeeps and they had to do the biggest numbers they could do, caused problems. So they removed that, and they removed cleric stance for healers. I personally feel like that kind of took something away from the game. I liked that the tanks had different roles. That in Heaven's Word, Warrior was the off tank, and Paladin and Dark Knight were the preferred main tanks, because the numbers that you could hit with a Warrior on off tank were almost as good as another DPS. But the Paladin and the Dark Knight could had at least as good, if not better, defensive abilities compared to the Warrior. So it was this nice pairing. I think the problem was a lot of times the pairing became Paladin and Warrior and kind of left Dark Knight out, because Dark Knight was better against magic damage and Paladin was better against physical damage. And most of the raids of that tier were physical damage, and so Dark Knight kind of got left by the wayside. So I understand why they did it, but like I said, I kind of enjoy the dance. It was fun. But to get back to your original question, yeah, Dark Knight and Warrior are pretty similar. The joke is that Gunbreaker is just 3 DPS in a trench coat. They kind of just focus on DPS mostly, but certainly a viable tank, no doubt. And then Paladin is much more your traditional tank. They have a lot more defensive abilities even now, if memory serves. Especially a lot of their gauge that they build is used for defensive abilities, whereas for War and for Dark Knight, most of the gauge you build is for DPS abilities, so it's a little bit different. I haven't played. I got Gunbreaker to 80, but I haven't played it enough to really have a good grasp on it. So, are you looking to find a tank to place, aren't I? Paladin at the moment. I mean, it's a good tank. Like I said, now especially, they don't suffer the DPS difference that they used to. I mean, it used to be the value of the paladin was its sheer, well, tankiness. But their DPS numbers were a lot worse than War or Dark Knight, but they've balanced that all out pretty well. Minyao from RFC, of course, is a very good paladin. And her numbers are at least as good as mine as a warrior. But I don't know. I've just always liked the warrior aesthetic, especially old warrior. The the neat thing about old warrior that set it apart from say paladin. So paladin in A Realm Reborn, you had a damage reduction when you were in tank stance. So the difference between tank stance and DPS stance, like I was saying earlier, was when you were in tank stance, you took less damage, but you also did less damage. And when you were in your offensive stance, you did more damage, but you also took more damage. For warrior, you didn't have that the damage reduction when you were in tank stance. What you had instead was a boosted HP pool, so you had more health than any of the other tanks, and so you could get these ridiculously high health point pools, and into Heavensward as well, where it was basically, yeah, I see you're hitting me, but I have so much hit points, I just don't care.
Yeah, Paladin was mitigation, Warrior was just an HP
Yeah,
thing.
it's just I'm just gonna take it and be fine with it, and that always appealed to me. I thought it was funny, like I'm just gonna yell at you and beat you with my axe while you're hitting me and just not care about it. So I always thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, but as a healer,
the problem
it
with it
made
was
you
yeah,
feel like you couldn't heal.
exactly. So you got these healers who were trying to heal you, and the potency was what it was, and you got these heals, and they felt tiny compared to the health pool that the warrior had.
Dink.
So. So, I always thought that was a kind of a fun difference. I mean, in the long run, the healing difference was the same.
Yeah.
Mathematically, it was about the same. But I just liked seeing this massive HP pool and just being like, you know what, you hit me, I don't care. I always thought it was kind of fun.
I think the phrase you used was, "I'm a mini boss now."
I may have said that once or twice a day. Because I did have as much hit points at the end of Heavensward as some of the mini bosses.
Please.
Which was kind of funny. Like, Warrior got to the point that like LB1 wouldn't kill a Warrior. Were we to have some sort of inter-party fighting. So, it was kind of fun back in my day. But now it's mostly just which aesthetic you like. Good night, Sarnai. Thanks for hanging out.
Later.
If you feel like it, throw me a follow. I'd appreciate it. If not, no pressure. And I've waxed poetic about tanks for a while now. Yeah.
The olden days.
The olden days.
Doesn't it make you feel old?
It doesn't take much to make me feel old. Because I am. Maybe I should change my my Twitch handle to Johnny Silverfox or something.
You might
be attracting a different kind of viewer base than I really want there.
Yeah.
On second thought, I think I'll pass on that. Millie, we bought you a perfectly good bed and you sleep next to it. Brat doggy. So I think, Miranda, I asked you and then my Discord promptly crashed. Is there anything interesting going on this week?
Not to my knowledge.
Not really?
Yeah, other than I'm supposed to be getting my second shot on Friday.
Have you called your your doc and ask if that was a reasonable thing to do.
Well, that's partly what I'm gonna ask him when I'm there tomorrow. Is gonna be like, so with all of this, can I get a medical
Should I? Yeah.
Because I don't even know if the nurses would even let me.
Yeah, that's a good question. If you're already presenting with an allergic reaction that you don't know the cause of, whether they'd let you. Whether they'd let you. No, that's a good question.
Which at that point I need a medical exemption because, as I just found out today, if people do not have their shots or planning to get both, my work is now terminating anybody that isn't.
Oh wow.
Yeah, an email went out just stating
When's the
last
deadline
week
for that?
the 22nd of this month.
Wow.
There was an email that the CEO sent, but all it said was, if you have any medical exemptions, please present them by the 22nd. And then she calls my manager and told the manager, like, oh yeah, by the way, if your workers aren't going to get the shots, then they're terminated at the 22nd. And I'm like, oh.
I mean, you might talk to your boss and say, hey, I don't
know if I can do so.
I've had the first vaccination. I have no problem getting vaccinated. It's not a political view or religious thing. It's just I had a allergic reaction that happened sometime around this time, and the doctors don't know what it is, and I would just like to make sure that, just let them know what's going on.
No, I let him know that
You've had the first one, so.
Oh yeah, I've submitted the records to show that I had my first shot already, and I've kept my boss updated on the hives thing. Because I walked in this morning and I was like, so I'm calling my doctor again. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because it spread to my hands and now I have like sausage fingers and it's everywhere. And I'm like, so I need to obviously see the doctor again. And then I'm gonna have to see what kind of medicine I can actually take that's gonna help this. Because last time I went in last week, he's like, oh, those are just a few small dots, and now it's just like a bunch of angry red dots. And I'm like, yeah, you can't say that these are little few dots now. So, and then I'm gonna have to ask him at that point too, like, can I have a medical exemption for my second shot, as
It's kind of important to keep your job.
No. I'll bring that up. Like, I'll be like, I have to know by now. Otherwise, I get my job, I lose my job.
Our company is either requiring proof of vaccination by the 15th or weekly negative COVID tests.
Yeah, I just did a rapid test, and it came out negative.
That's good. I would rather not have something shoved up my nose every week, so I'm glad I have the vaccine.
You don't like scratching your brain?
No.
Thankfully the rapid tests don't make me go into my brain.
Just kidding.
I've been coughing and have a runny nose now, so I'm like, I don't know if I got a cold or if it's just more of the allergies coming to bite me.
Ooh, my jump almost didn't jump on Leap of Faith, and I almost missed the last jump.
Boy.
But success. Well, let me know how the appointment goes. Hopefully the doctor will give you some useful advice.
Yeah, I don't really like my doctor. He's kind of useless.
Any option to change that?
No, because everybody has free Medicare. It takes forever to get a family doctor. And the only reason
Well, I
we
mean,
got this one,
I suppose you could always start the process and keep going with the one you got until you get a new one.
no, if I go to get a new family doctor, I lose him.
Hmm.
Which is unfortunate. The only reason I got him was because he started his practice there, and we were able to get in because Mom had a connection with him.
I just walked right off the edge of that one.
I guess I ought to take Rat Doggy outside, huh?
Yeah. As soon as I do leap of faith, I was gonna kidnap her and
Yeah.
throw her in the great outdoors for her to do.
Whatever she needed to do. Well, I wish we'd excuse me. I wish we'd gotten a clear on 4,
Yeah.
but alas.
And it was not necessarily a good night for it.
Seem to be having
Yeah.
problems with connections, but that's alright. Well, to those who are still watching the stream, thanks for hanging out. Not sure what we'll do tomorrow night. Tomorrow night would normally be a raid night, but we would be missing one of our 2 tanks, so we've postponed that to Thursday. So I'm not sure what will happen tomorrow, if anything, for stream. Maybe some just random roulettes for Final Fantasy, or maybe some Skull, the Hero Slayer. We'll figure that out tomorrow, or maybe just a night off. Who knows? Still kind of casual at this streaming thing, so.
Are you going in Thursday?
That was the last we spoke.
Okay.
Assuming Minyao's schedule allows. Because she didn't know what her schedule after Wednesday was, I think. So, anyway, stream's going down. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll catch you next time.